Good afternoon. Welcome to the session on harnessing the power of smart manufacturing, effective implementation, and long-term success and this is in the conference track, Digital Transformation. Our speaker today is Girish Kumar Gopalakrishnan. He is an ASQ Master Black Belt Senior Member. He's the North America Continuous Improvement Senior Manager at CNH Industrial. He holds a graduate degree in industrial engineering from North Carolina State University and has over 15 years of experience leading quality and continuous improvement initiatives across manufacturing, logistics, and healthcare. A Master Black Belt certified in 40+ tools, Girish led a plant to achieve world-class manufacturing bronze and delivered 10 million plus in cost savings. His expertise in Lean Six Sigma and WCM drives strategic alignment and operational excellence across global operations. Okay. This session is going to be 45 minutes in total. We'll address your questions and answers at the end of the session. Please write your questions briefly in the Q&A chat. And if we're unable to address your question due to the shortage of time, we will have your questions in the Q&A, and we will try to get you the answer later. And so now here is Girish to start the presentation.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, thank you all for giving me this opportunity to talk about this webinar on smart manufacturing. So let me get started. So the agenda for today we'll talk about is I would like to give the audience a background of what the primary conversation or the premise of this discussion is going to be, followed by some of the challenges that industry, especially manufacturing, are facing when it comes to smart manufacturing. We'll explore into what is that framework going to look like that can help address those challenges in the industry. And then finally, I would like to wrap up with some takeaways that can be helpful for us to take it back to our respective organizations and put that in practice. So just wanted to talk, just scope what I'm referring to as smart manufacturing. We are talking about the big data solutions that we are implementing on the manufacturing side of the shop floor, Internet of Things, Industry 4.0, intelligent manufacturing when it comes to like central ERP systems, those types of things is what we are referring to here as smart manufacturing. Okay. So background. So when it comes to a quick background of what we'll discuss today is first of all, this presentation, the end deliverable is a framework that I'm proposing that will help us guide through smart manufacturing projects in the organization, in any particular organization, how we can focus on analyzing the process together and really understanding what those inefficiencies are and what kind of improvements we can put in place, but also making sure how we define success and create a value proposition to our critical stakeholders in the business, right? To making sure we have a good, strong business case for smart manufacturing projects and how do we get there. We'll discuss about that in this presentation. Okay, so what is really happening around us? So 98, according to a survey back in 2023, so this is Deloitte, they conducted this digital maturity survey among 800 different manufacturers globally across 4 major economic zones globally. And they found out that 98% of manufacturers agreed that they have already initiated their digital transformation journey, and they're actually experiencing the cost benefit. They're experiencing the business improvements based out of those activities. So really, when it comes to generative AI and all the other latest technologies, the word out there is it can really accelerate the productivity by anywhere between 0.5 to 3.4% by in the next 1 or 2 decades, like I'm talking about 2030s to 2040s. So there's a huge potential for smart manufacturing projects and how it can improve our manufacturing industry in particular. So I'm going to have these types of exercise slides. In fact, I got 4 in total in this presentation. So each of these exercise slides is just a one single question that I'm posing to the audience here. If you can answer, open up your chat, and just make sure you select the everybody option or everyone option. I guess that's how it looks like. And just if you can respond, basically it's a yay or nay or yes or no feedback or a thumbs up or thumbs down. And Kevin and I will kind of review that information. We just want to get some feedback and some interactive experience during this webinar. So the first question I have is, are smart manufacturing projects being implemented or have been implemented in your organization? So I want to open it up for the audience for a minute or so. So if you can respond, and I'll just pause for a moment. And Kevin, if you can start looking at the results, and please give me some updates whenever you get some feedback. So question is, are smart manufacturing projects implemented in your organization or being implemented? So I see a lot of people
Yep.
responding, about 16 people already.
It's
Awesome.
it's a lot of, it is, I would say it's between partial and no.
Okay.
I would say partial has it.
Partial is the majority. Okay. Okay. Even though I did not have an option for that, but thank you for the feedback. Really appreciate it. So that kind of gives me a sense of where we are at according to this audience group here today, so we can talk a little bit more. So so then this is really very apt for our discussion today. Is you feel that, hey, my organization is probably doing something, but I'm not sure, or maybe we have already kicked off a few, but there's no really a cohesive strategy out there. So these are some good takeaways to keep in mind. So I would like to first talk about the challenges. So what are some potential challenges that those types of projects in your industry might face? So this is what we'll initiate the discussion with. So there are four unique challenges where we can discuss a little bit more in depth. First of all is smart manufacturing projects. As you probably already know, these are emerging technologies, right? So there's not a whole lot of excuse me, there's not a whole lot of standardized solutions out there that can help us kind of zero in down into what do we really need to do to be successful. There's not a whole lot of best practices out there. And really, there is the novelty of these technologies really doesn't offer a one size fit all approach. So we just cannot go in with a solution in mind. And also, there's some huge costs associated with such projects. In terms of leadership buy-in, because of all of these factors, it's hard to create a solid value proposition to management leadership and say, hey, this works. Can we pursue in this direction? So that's a huge challenge currently. And then finally, not a whole lot of discussion out there in the industry about this, but cyber threats is a very genuine challenge that smart manufacturing projects or industry has to keep in mind. So we'll discuss all of these a little bit more in detail in the forthcoming slides. But I want to pose my second question in part of this presentation. Do you know if smart manufacturing projects face such challenges in your business? For those who have responded no to the first question, just share your viewpoint. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's practically happening in your organization, but give your best understanding of where do you see do we face such challenges in your team or in your larger organization. Again, we'll give it a minute or so. Kevin, if you can quickly give me some feedback here, I'd appreciate it.
Okay. We have a resounding yes to that. We
Okay,
only had
awesome.
one no, and we had two unknowns.
Okay. Thank you for that feedback, and thank you for giving me that summary, Kevin. That really tells me that a lot of you can relate to a lot of these challenges and say, "Hey, this makes sense." So, what do we really do to help address some of these challenges, right? So, as part of this discussion, I would like to present a framework based on some of the research I've done. This framework really has four unique elements that's part of this solution, and within these elements, I'm going to discuss about what are some of the critical concepts that we can actually implement so it's very tangible that we can take it back to our respective work areas or organizations or teams that we are working closely with. So without further ado, this is what the framework that I'm suggesting. So it's a four-pronged approach. So really the first aspect is focusing, or the first element is focusing on the high priority problems. Second is leading through influence. And third is effective leadership, buy-in, and organizational awareness. And then finally, prioritizing cybersecurity and data protection. So these are the four kind of the elements of the framework. So really the where I'm getting at is out there in the industry, we do see a lot of tendency towards okay, how do I apply the most latest and greatest in my business, and how do I make sure that we are in the forefront of technology when it comes to manufacturing. But really, we have to pause for a moment and take a moment to really realize that what is that problem that we are solving, and this in this discussion I would like to um, point out that there's a lot of basic, we have to go back to our basics and really understanding why do we need to apply the new technologies, why do we need to apply the latest technologies, and really asking those whys before we step into some of the projects. So this framework really emphasizes that, and really taking us through that process of how do we get there, right? So the first framework that I'll discuss today is focusing on solving high priority problems. So really getting there. So there's a lot of industry discussions. There's a lot of journal papers talking about these are the best solutions, creating a lot of hype. But we are the ones who are going to understand the problems. We are going to be the ones who are understanding our business needs the best. So we have to make that interpretation of that, and approach the problem, and really starting off small, really bite-size areas that we can focus on. We'll touch on that a little bit, but making sure we don't end up with a scope creep, right? And really staying focused on a particular problem. So maybe even a widely used principle out there is the Pareto principle. You got 80% of the effects is caused by 20% of the causes. So how do we attack those 20% of those causes so that we get the biggest bang for the buck, right? So this is really the high level understanding, but we have to get to those manageable problems out there in our areas and really target them and focus on them. So the one concept, the primary concept I'm going to talk about within this element of problem definition, focusing on high priority problems is again that Pareto principle. And how do we align once we identify the problem? How do we align to make sure that the team has a good scope of control? So we cannot solve world hunger, but then can we try to focus on our specific areas and specific projects, and making sure we align the solution against the problem, right? So that we don't go into a problem with a solution in mind. Again, the problem solving culture and especially starts with a Gemba approach. Gemba terminology is used widely in the manufacturing areas, especially originates from the Japanese manufacturing principles. It really means going to the place and seeing where the transformation is actually happening. So we go to the actual place, we go there and get the real facts. So by this, we get a much more clear understanding of what's happening out there on the shop floor, whether it's in the laboratory or wherever your business is happening or transformation is happening. But it doesn't stop there. Gemba doesn't stop right at the the problem definition stage. Gemba continues throughout the course of your project. So Gemba is we go in there even to identify or determine the root cause. We go there to understand or experiment the countermeasures. We go to the Gemba to understand, okay, is my countermeasure effective, right? Can I standardize a solution and so on for sustainment? So Gemba is a very powerful tool for us to emphasize and use it throughout the course of a project. So choosing the right tool for the problem, right? So it's never about chasing the most popular tool out there. It's about choosing the right one for you. So really, with the hype around smart manufacturing, the hype around AI, and so on, we really have to understand what is that problem we are trying to solve, and what is that right solution that we need to carve out in order to essentially eliminate the root causes of the problem, right? So this is why we are there. This is why we do continuous improvement. This is why we make sure that we use the right problem solving approach. So we shouldn't go into solving a problem with a tool in mind. So that's not going to help us out. So that's why the last second saying on my slide says is, if the only tool you have is a hammer, you tend to see every problem as a nail. So that we gotta make those assessments very, very clearly. Okay. The second element of the framework that I'm suggesting is leading through influence. So this really talks about how we can establish a digital transformation approach that's flexible and agile. So really planning out our entire strategy for the digital transformation, really understanding what is that data that we need to do to be successful, that we need to derive, and really not getting boxed into a particular model or boxed into a particular solution. We have to really understand the business and really develop or formulate the strategy based out of that. And avoiding any competing projects, that is going to be the killer. So we have to clearly understand how are projects being managed. Do we have projects with conflicting technologies? And really ask for help. With the limited amount of best practices, standardized solutions out there, really reaching out to the subject matter experts and conferences like these. And ASQ provides that huge platform where there's an opportunity for us to share some of these insights and reaching out for help. Hey, what do we do here, right? I mean, don't get boxed in here as well. Ask for help, whether it's internal or external to your organization. So I'm within this framework element, I'm going to talk about agility. That's the one key concept. We touched on conflicting solutions, right? So at the end of the day, we have to ensure, even though there's a huge amount of investments, there's a huge amount of emphasis on AI and generative AI and smart manufacturing, we have to ensure that these types of solutions are not conflicting in nature or divergent in nature. Why? What do I mean by that? So very simple example is when we are installing sensors to maybe derive or track certain information on our machines. Maybe it's to track breakdowns or becoming more proactive in understanding, okay, how can I predict breakdowns from happening and take the right countermeasure? Really understanding that, okay, is that sensor going to be compatible with the rest of my solutions in my area, in my plant, or in my manufacturing area. So and also keeping in mind some of the future solutions that might happen. Do we have the right PLC in place? Do we have the right infrastructure in place that can accommodate some of the current issues that we are facing and can get integrated into the current infrastructure we have within the business, and really ensuring that we have a very cohesive or a coherent program within the organization so everybody pulls in the same direction. You might have a ton of projects. Several people are managing projects in the organization with very similar interests, but we have to ensure that there's a very cohesive approach. So everybody knows that, hey, some of these solutions might require a lot of back-end activities, but are those back-end activities are all talking to each other, right? So again, agility, integration, it goes really well together, really focusing on not only on current problems, but looking far out what are some of the potential solutions that we might face in the future, and making sure that we have a compatible framework to address that, or to accommodate those types of solutions. And I'm repeating this over and over again, but try to reach out to experts, try to reach out to advisors, both internal and external, and making sure we have a very conscious decisions that we are making in this journey. Okay. The third element we're going to talk about within this framework is effective leadership, buy-in, and organizational awareness. So this is I'm going to talk about it like the intangibles, right? So the intangible part of this journey, or the transformation journey that your organization is heading towards, or maybe already part of it. So first of all, once we have a demonstrated solution, let's take, for example, we have a small area where we implemented this sensor, and we are able to effectively measure any type of vibrational issues, and then we are able to predict the breakdowns that is happening on our machine. So in this way, we are able to proactively take countermeasures to address any machine breakdown. So this is a huge win. So celebrate the wins. Even if we have a small area that we are able to create that pocket of excellence, make sure you communicate that as much as possible within the team, within the organization. Have a very effective communication strategy, how you can share the information. That is going to help people understand, okay, this is what's happening around us, and really helps in the buy-in piece of it, not only with the leadership, but also with the entire organization. And also focus on trying to help developing the talent within the team, because the last thing we want to see is the lack of awareness and lack of knowledge with some of these up and coming technologies, because of their true potential. Like we discussed about anywhere between 0.5 to 3.4% productivity growth. So we have that potential, but how do we develop our talent internally to get there, right? And really closing the deal and making sure that we create some effective value propositions out there that can help connect the dots. So one concept here I want to talk about within this element is model area. So model area is like that example that I mentioned before. When it comes to a certain area, you're choosing, okay, I have a solution that I want to put in place. I've analyzed the problem, I've understood the inefficiencies. So this is a smart manufacturing solution. So really, you're exemplifying that model area, saying, "Hey, I was able to implement the solution here." Really showcasing that model area. So creating those pilot areas that can help us demonstrate that this is what a best-in-class looks like. This is what a best-in-class technological solution looks like, so that the entire team can go and see, can learn from that experience. And also it really creates a plan for how we can expand similar solutions within the company. So the model area is a very key approach that organizations can take to implement smart manufacturing solutions. Communication, right? Communication, and making sure we empower and engage all the levels of our team, not only the leadership team, but also our middle level management, our blue collar employees, the frontline leadership, the frontline people, helping them create the awareness that, hey, this is something that can work, right? So how we can engage like our human resources team, aligning the culture and the work processes, so that we have the leadership buy-in, but also the entire team is working towards how we can transform the industry using some of these latest technologies that are out there. Okay. So with that being said, I have the third question in this presentation. So what is smart manufacturing? How is your organization looking at smart manufacturing? Do you think your industry or your organization has a roadmap or a strategy for smart manufacturing? Again, we'll open it up for a minute or so and get some feedback from the team.
Right. It is mostly no.
Okay.
Two said limited, and one said only measuring machine uptime.
Okay. So majority is no, Kevin.
The majority is no.
Thank you. All right. Thank you for the feedback once again. I think that's a good, gives me a good understanding. I looked it up. There's about 75 participants, so we have a good, good, huge amount of audience here. So thank you for being part of this again. So the last and final element that I'm going to talk about as part of this framework is cybersecurity and data protection. So when it comes to cybersecurity and data protection, really understanding what do we have out there, and this is something I would say manufacturing as a whole is in the cusp of really understanding this problem, like what's out there and how data is getting protected, how we are protecting our infrastructure within the manufacturing plants, and really keeping in mind that there has to be architectures developed in order to prevent not only current cyber attacks and data thefts, but also future such activities, and really training our staff to handle data effectively. Really, that data management processes and data management culture has to be built in the organizations as well. So some key statistics that I've read very recently is according to the cybersecurity, like CISA, or Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency. They report that well over 1,200 problems or security threats are out there that are across 300 OEMs or providers. So that is the amount of exposure that manufacturing industry is exposed to. So there's a huge potential for things to get out of control, right? So being prepared and really doing those proactive measures and protecting against current threats and future threats is very, very key. Okay. So really, Internet of Things, machine learning, we discussed that as those are a very integral part of smart manufacturing. But when it comes to these types of solutions, we are talking about a lot of sensing devices, sensors, or any sort of technologically advanced devices are being put in place and installed in machines in several areas in the manufacturing business that are collecting information or processing information, that is digesting that and giving output in such a way that we are able to make some business decisions, whether it's reactive, preventive, or proactive. So this information helps us understand risks, understand anomalies, and respond quickly so that we can avoid any kind of business impact, right? So whether it's an again reactive, preventive, or proactive approach. So as this is happening, there is an important piece of it that usually we ignore, is we don't look at, okay, how vulnerable is that infrastructure that we are building in place? How vulnerable are those algorithms? How vulnerable is our architecture and software that anybody from the outside or maybe even internally can penetrate and create a disruption? So really keeping that in mind and making sure that we first of all understand what those risks look like and how we can make sure we put the right countermeasures in so that we are really prepared to avoid any cyber threats. Okay. So last question of this presentation, and I got a couple more minutes left. Is cybersecurity a focus in your smart manufacturing setup? Quickly opening it up for some feedback. Again, take a minute or so. And Kevin, if you can chime in whenever you get a chance.
Oh, now we have 70 people online. We should get some more answers. Okay, I think we have a good representation. Nobody said no. One person said only for government. Only for government accounts.
Okay.
And one said we are very cybersecurity aware, careful, so virtually no machines are connected to the outside world. Well,
Okay.
so yeah, majority said yes.
Awesome. That's glad to hear. Thank you for that feedback. Thank you, Kevin. So really, that kind of wraps up the framework that I was been talking about. So we have the four elements at the top, focusing on high priority problems, leading through influence, looking at agility and integration, the effective leadership buy-in, where we looking at the intangible piece of our journey, digital transformation journey, model areas, and how we communicate with the rest of the teams. And then last but not least, the prioritizing the cybersecurity data protection. So really, that's a four element based approach that we are talking about. So these are the key takeaways that I wanted to prescribe for the team here, for the group here, is that framework, utilizing this framework, keeping this the back of your mind when you're guiding through smart manufacturing projects, how we really look at analyzing the process, how we are able to get down to the root cause, understanding the inefficiencies, and proposing the right improvements, and making sure that we create those effective value proposition using this framework, and making sure we have the leadership with us, and as we are expanding the solutions. So finally, this framework is going to be dynamic. Again, this is not set in stone. As we are progressing in this journey with Industry 4.0, smart manufacturing, in organizational excellence, it's going to continue to evolve. So really a call for action. What I would challenge the group here is how manufacturing within your industry can position as a forward-thinking organization, as a more technologically driven organization, right? So really investing in the future of the business, looking out there in our long-term strategy, is smart manufacturing an integral part of it? And also looking at how not only we create SOPs for operators, but really what are those sustaining activities that we can put in place for the daily management of these smart manufacturing projects. It's not something we put in place and walk away, but really trying to ensure that we have good, solid auditing activities, good, solid maintenance activities, that we can ensure that these solutions are sustained. And last but not least is a continuous learning, right? So we got to continuously learn and teach our young people, our up and coming, and also everybody in the organization, making sure they are aware of these emerging solutions. Okay. So with that being said, I want to thank everybody to be part of this webinar. I was glad to see well over 70 people attend this. So back to you, Kevin.
Okay, we do have, okay. So we do have a couple of questions. The first question is, can you provide an example of when you or someone you know was successful in getting the C-suite to agree one project a smaller project, instead of seeing everything as important and all of it has to take priority?
Absolutely. Being part of the organization, we are in this quality journey where we're trying to use a model plant and really execute some of the smart manufacturing solutions in a particular plant, and then use that learnings and deploy it globally. So that's where I want to emphasize on the model area approach. really taking that and then expanding that further from there. So that'll give the C-suite a lot more better understanding of, okay, this is what it looks like, right? Because a lot of this smart, you're talking about a multi-year journey. It's not one project, but then it's going to be a continued amount of investments for the transformation to happen.
Okay, and one more. In a craftsmanship intensive industry, on what basis could a quality professional best communicate to the management that smart manufacturing would be better than highly skilled craftsmen?
Yeah, I think you know your business better. I think that's where the expertise really comes into play. We really have to understand the problems. I guess if skill is critical, then how are we training our employees to make sure that that skill is expanded across the organization. So understanding what are some of those challenges from a training standpoint, but also again. What I also want to emphasize is smart manufacturing. These types of solutions are not the solutions always. So we also have to really understand the problem and let the problem help us determine what the solution is.
You mentioned earlier in your presentation that it accelerates productivity from 0.5 to 3.4%. Although we would increase productivity that much, do you think we still have to be careful that we're not producing so much that we end up with warehouses full of products? In an earlier talk, someone had mentioned that Toyota was doing that back in the 50s or 60s, where they increased their productivity and then they ended up with too many cars.
Yeah, understanding what the customer needs, I think that is the key takeaway there, and what can we do to understand what our customer really wants, and developing our manufacturing plan or strategy based out of that. So and some industries and every industry works very differently. I just sat through a webinar a couple of days ago on cooling generators that are used in data centers. It's a very I would say like a made to order business. So it's really you're going to be lean. On the other hand, automobiles, as we know, they make to stock. So that's a completely different mindset, because you're building our manufacturing for the car to sit there in the lot for a certain period of time. So it really depends on the industry, but really making sure we are aware of that. Each one of us are aware of how our industry works, and really fine tuning the smart manufacturing strategy in such a way that it makes a lot more sense, common sense.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, so I think that is all I had. You're getting a lot of thank yous and saying that this has been very informative and helpful and great information.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And we're at 5 minutes. So if anybody else has any more questions, you can put them in the chat or the Q&A. Yeah, I think this might be it. So we can close a little bit early. Thanks everybody for attending.
Thank you, everybody.
We appreciate it.